What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today on the Attachment Confessions. My name is Chelsea, and I am really excited that you're here today for episode 13. To those of you who are loyal listeners, already part of the Confessions fam, I am so grateful to have you here. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for making space in your life to tune in each week. And for those of you that are brand new to the Attachment Confessions, welcome to the pod. I am really glad you decided to join us today. From the moment I discovered attachment science, everything about every relationship I had ever been in finally made sense. And now I'm figuring out what it takes to earn my attachment security and have the best possible relationships from now on. Here on the Attachment Confessions, we'll be diving into all things attachment science while you guys tag along on my attachment healing adventure. My hope is that by bringing attachment science to those of you who have never heard of it before, and by sharing my own story, you'll also be inspired to set out on your own attachment healing journey. We just wrapped up a 2-part guest lived experience series, which was so freaking good. Our boy Brent was brave enough to share his story, letting us all in on what it's like to be a dismissive avoidant. Correction, a healing dismissive avoidant. Which, by the way, you guys, is a really big deal. Earning your attachment security is not an easy, quick fix thing. It can oftentimes be a long, grueling process for all insecure attachment styles. But if we're being real here, it's the most difficult for a dismissive avoidant. Reason being is that the DA's main attachment wound is the fear of feeling defective or broken due to the emotional neglect they experienced in childhood. Showing any sort of emotional vulnerability, especially weakness of any kind, quite literally feels like dying for a dismissive avoidant. They will avoid taking accountability at all costs. Turning things up a whole other notch from there, like displaying any type of feelings that could potentially open them up to criticism of any kind, yeah, that's definitely not happening. So the fact that Brent just laid his DA cards out on the table for the whole world to hear is truly impressive and shows that he's not as far away from earning his attachment security as most dismissive avoidants. Remember, you guys, self-awareness and acknowledgement is the first step in the healing process, and many DAs just don't even make it to the first step. They literally dismiss their own emotions and the emotions of others in order to avoid the pain of seeming weak. So, major props to Brent for coming on the podcast and giving us all a glimpse into the world of a DA. You are well on your way, sir. If you missed that convo with Brent, definitely check out episodes 11 and 12 for parts 1 and 2 of our interview. Speaking of the healing process, that leads us to today's topic. I've mentioned in a couple previous episodes the attachment healing coaching program that I've been participating in, put on by social psychologist and attraction and attachment expert Dr. Sarah Hensley. Well, I just wrapped up the 4-week group coaching experience last Wednesday, so I wanted to spend this episode sharing that journey with you guys. It was awesome, y'all. Each coaching session meets for an hour, 1 day a week for 4 weeks. So, the class that I participated in met on 4 consecutive Wednesdays in the afternoon. There were about 20 of us participating via Zoom, which makes it a really cool format because there are many different people from all walks of life, all age ranges, and all different attachment styles. So you can learn a lot, not only from Dr. Hensley, but from the other participants too. We're able to ask questions throughout. So that's also really great because oftentimes, someone asked a question that I never would have thought to ask, but getting to learn from others' questions and hearing Dr. Hensley's feedback was so helpful. It's also very low pressure. You can be totally anonymous, have your camera turned off, never speak, or type questions in the chat if you don't want to. So she creates a really safe environment to learn where you don't feel so exposed if you don't want to be. You can just silently participate and learn from everyone else. It's actually perfect for dismissive avoidance because they can be more like a sponge and microdose the information, whereas in traditional counseling or couples therapy settings, dismissive avoidance typically do not do well. It's too much pressure on them, and they tend to feel attacked or criticized, which immediately triggers their attachment wounds, which makes them shut down. Now, don't get me wrong, Dr. Hensley's hybrid group coaching experience is amazing for all attachment styles, but the format is particularly great for a dismissive avoidant. So, if you are a dismissive avoidant looking for healing, or if your partner is, her program would be a phenomenal choice, much more effective over going the traditional therapy route. Along with the 4-week virtual group coaching sessions, you also get Dr. Hensley's proprietary self paced course, which is called Achieving Your Attachment Security. The course is 4 chapters, which corresponds with what you learn each week in the online group coaching sessions. The coaching sessions allow you to dive even deeper into the coursework, ask questions that are specific to your relationship or your situation, so it's super helpful for people of all learning styles. You can refer back to the course material at any time. There's a workbook to download and work through. There's so much information to reference, so it's really great. Also, each of the online group coaching sessions are recorded. So if you have to miss unexpectedly, or if you hop on late, or have to leave the session early, or if you just want a refresher, you can go back and watch the session recordings anytime you want, as often as you want. Dr. Hensley, if you're listening, which I'm sure she isn't, but if you happen to be listening, don't worry. I will not be sharing any of the attachment healing techniques that we learned. That is not my material to teach. That is her proprietary attachment healing methodology. So, if you want the actual tools, check out her services, which I will be linking in the show notes. I do want to give a brief rundown of how things were structured over the 4 weeks, though. More of an insider's view so that you can get a better idea of what it's like and decide if you think it's for you. I am not sponsored by Dr. Hensley. I just love her and think she's doing amazing things by bringing her personal story, which is incredible in and of itself, but also her attachment healing tools that she's created to the world. And I'm so appreciative of how instrumental she's been in my life this year. I am not sure where I'd be right now had I not serendipitously stumbled upon her on Facebook several months ago, so I am more than happy to give her her flowers pro bono. Okay, so week 1 is dedicated to doing a deep dive into each attachment style and really honing in on everyone in the program figuring out which attachment style they are. If anyone isn't sure or if anyone is on the fence. But for me, I didn't need to figure this out in the course. I knew going into this that I am a fearful avoidant. However, it was really fascinating getting to hear other participants' personal stories and their questions, which honestly just further solidified that FA is definitely my attachment style because I could really relate to a lot of what the other FAs were describing about their patterns of behavior in relationships or childhood experiences, things like that. Week 2 is focused on taking control of our thoughts when a conflict arises or an attachment wound is triggered. This is the metacognitive part of healing your attachment that I've mentioned in previous episodes. Metacognition is essentially the practice of thinking about your thoughts, learning how to objectively observe and challenge your own initial thought response. Now, don't get it twisted. It's definitely not about gaslighting yourself. However, mastering your mind, thinking before you react, is the essential first step in healing your insecure attachment. The piece I especially appreciated and find really valuable about Dr. Hensley's metacognitive part of the program is that she offers two different approaches depending on each participant's personal preference. So there's a Christian, faith based method and a more secular, science based approach. I opted for the faith based method, but if that's not your jam, she doesn't force it upon anyone and is very mindful about making everyone feel included, regardless of their personal preference. Either way, you get to learn both methods, which to me is super cool and helpful to have two different approaches to practice. Week 3 is all about nervous system regulation through true emotional processing. Emotions are a combination of the thoughts you have about a situation, aka the story you're telling yourself, coupled with the physical feelings that you experience in your body. This week was super fascinating because we learned about polyvagal theory. Getting even deeper into the science is always so cool to me. It just helps everything come together and make even more sense because there's actual evidence to back everything up. This isn't like a 4-week kumbaya, warm and fuzzy, let's all just sit around and hold hands and talk about our feelings type of program, which, if that's the kind of thing you're into, like, by all means, go for it. But this is truly about changing your nervous system from a scientific standpoint. Week 3 is also when Dr. Hensley teaches the different tools to move your nervous system out of a trauma response phase by working through the full cycle of true emotional processing. This week was very eye opening for me in particular because I realized that I've actually been living in a functional freeze state for the last several years. My nervous system has essentially been numb to true emotional processing from a previous relationship, basically just in survival mode. Because of this, it's going to take a lot of practice, literally daily, in order to process through all of the emotional trauma that my nervous system has stored up. I'm just glad that I took Dr. Hensley's course so that I can finally and properly work this stuff out of my body for good. In the final week, week 4, is where Dr. Hensley lays out step by step her fail proof conflict resolution plan. You guys, I cannot tell you how badly I wish I would have learned her conflict resolution plan when I was in previous relationships because my goodness, this thing is pure freaking genius. I've shared in previous episodes where one relationship in particular, our fights would last hours and hours. We would go round and round and round, harping on the same things, repeating ourselves to death. It was actual insanity. Had we known about Dr. Hensley's conflict resolution plan, maybe our fights could have been handled better. Who knows, though? It takes two to tango, and to agree to and stick with the terms of the conflict resolution plan. But man, learning about this blew my mind for real. Honestly, if you're in a relationship where resolving conflict is a never ending issue, take Dr. Hensley's group coaching program for this part of it alone. Every week is packed with so much game changing information and techniques, but her no fail conflict resolution plan alone is worth the price of admission. Seriously. Okay, you guys, that's my synopsis on Dr. Hensley's hybrid group coaching program. I cannot recommend it enough. It was so helpful, and I can't wait to share another update with you all once I've had more time to actually put her tools into practice and see where my progress goes. From FA to Secure AF, that's the goal. I wanted to fill you all in on something else. I love doing this podcast so much. It has brought a whole new purpose to my life that I didn't know that I needed. I am so touched by the messages that I get from you guys and seriously honored that you are on this healing journey with me. Another thing that's been brought to light after completing Dr. Hensley's attachment healing coaching program and after learning some really, really hard to stomach information that I've found out just within the last few days, has made me realize that I actually have a lot more work to do than I even realized. The progress I was making, unfortunately, took a backslide a few days ago, and it's done quite a number on my nervous system. To be real with you guys, it's why this episode is a day late. I just simply couldn't bring myself to focus on hardly anything after this really painful information made its way back to me. This healing work is something that has to be very intentional. I literally have to practice it every single day. With that being said, I'm going to have to scale the podcast back. Instead of weekly on Wednesdays, new episodes will drop every other Wednesday for the time being. I'm really bummed to have to do this, but it is the best decision for right now while I'm in the thick of my healing journey. If you're the praying type, please send some my way. In the meantime, don't forget to follow or subscribe to the Attachment Confessions so that you never ever miss an episode. And if you could please take a minute to leave a rating and review, I would so appreciate it. It doesn't cost you anything and it helps immensely with pushing the podcast up in the algorithms and in front of more people that can be positively impacted by learning about attachment science. And of course, if you know anyone that needs to learn about this life changing theory, be an awesome friend and share this podcast with them. Don't forget to follow the pod on Instagram at the Attachment Confessions and always feel free to send me a message. I absolutely adore hearing from you guys. It seriously means the world. Until next time, which will be not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, so December 17th, I hope you all have a fantastic next couple of weeks. Remember, you guys, healing your attachment is a choice. There is actually no time like the present to choose healing. Love you guys. Bye.